I wanted to do a video on activated charcoal because activated charcoal is something that I strongly believe in. I do believe it can be overused. I do believe that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. And I don't think it's wise to use activated charcoal for prolonged periods, especially if you're doing it every day. What I'm currently doing, every year, usually during flu season, I will take about a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of activated charcoal every Sunday, which is kind of my reset day for the upcoming week, where I'll try to eat a minimal amount of foods and kind of flush my system out. And I'll take things like activated charcoal on Sundays, or sometimes colloidal silver, sometimes a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of baking soda. Sundays are days where I use those three particular constituents the most, because, like I said, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. You can use too much activated charcoal, which can lead to digestive disturbances and sluggish digestion and things like that. It can also absorb too much of the good bacteria out of our gut. Using too much colloidal silver as well can be non-beneficial in my opinion. And same with baking soda, also known as sodium bicarbonate. I do, however, believe in the absolute power of these three constituents, and I do believe if they're used wisely, you can attain a lot of benefit from doing so. So a lot of people will say, well, if it's not good to take every day, why should we do it? Well, these particular constituents harbor so much power that if you use them too often, it's just not beneficial. So there's a lot of things like that in life where if you use too much of a good thing, it can lead to issues. You can drink too much water, ladies and gentlemen. You can most definitely eat too much food. And I'm not trying to fearmonger in relation to these three components. Activated charcoal in particular is what this video is about, but with certain things, when it comes to our health, you have to use them in a regimented, wise way, and activated charcoal, in my opinion, is one of those things. I have, however, gone in the past on like 7-day detoxes where I'll take a fourth of a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon of activated charcoal every day, and I was fine. But at this point in my life, I like to use it on the weekends. So activated charcoal is a really interesting substance, you guys. It in no way, shape, or form is the same type of charcoal found in charcoal bricks or burnt pieces of food and things like that. Activated charcoal is incredibly adsorbent, not absorbent. Although it does absorb things, it adsorbs them. So instead of absorb, A-B-S-O-R-B, it adsorbs, A-D-S-O-R-B, and that means that activated charcoal binds to non-beneficial things within the GI tract, molecules, atoms, ions, things like that. It binds to these constituents and holds them so that we can eliminate them through the eliminative channels. It removes these substances from our GI tract. It is incredibly adsorbent, ladies and gentlemen. I believe I can't remember, it's been a while since I've actually looked up the information, but I believe a teaspoon and a half of activated charcoal, if it was made properly from the manufacturer, has about the surface area of a tennis court. The stuff has a massive amount of absorptive properties, and it's for that reason alone that you don't want to use it every day. Now, we live in a world where most of us have chronically eaten all of the wrong foods. We've really bastardized, forgive my language, we've damaged our health by a constant introduction of the wrong foods into our system, and that leads to a lot of parasites, and that leads to a pH imbalance. And activated charcoal is highly alkaline, ladies and gentlemen. It can help you increase your alkalinity, but because we have eaten all of the wrong foods for so long, because we've damaged our digestive system, because we have so much junk floating around our GI tract, activated charcoal can be a great thing to get a lot of work done in a very little amount of time, because it has such a high surface area. So I'm not really going to mention which type or which brand, of activated charcoal I use. I will, however, say that I've experimented with a handful of different varieties, and I like the high pH activated coconut charcoal made from coconuts. And activated charcoal, you guys, is made through the process of heating carbon-rich materials, things like coconut shells. Some manufacturers, I believe, even use sawdust and peat and wood. I would be very weary about using anything other than coconuts, and you've got to make sure that they're made from organic coconuts. Activated charcoal, from my understanding and my research, a lot of the manufacturers use suboptimal sources to manufacture their activated charcoal. So, you know, just like with anything else in health, you want to source the best quality constituents that you can, and find something that suits your budget. Although I would not use anything of low quality when it comes to activated charcoal. And I believe a bag, I like to use the Earth Shift products, activated charcoal. I'll put a link in the description box for those who are interested in buying some. It comes from Sri Lanka. It's made from coconuts. It's awesome, awesome stuff. It goes down easy. It doesn't taste bad. You know, a lot of people use activated charcoal. Even though I said earlier it can cause sluggish digestion, if you use it moderately, if you use it like I do once a week, it has the flip effect, and it can actually increase your digestion. It has this weird almost intelligence within it that when you put it in your system, it knows where to go in your system, it knows what to bind to, and it can actually kickstart, at least it's been my experience and many other people's experience, it actually kickstarts the elimination process within the body. The body can use activated charcoal, it seems, very, very efficiently for removing years and years of waste and digestive issues and parasites and just foul material inside the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract. So again, make sure to get the coconut charcoal if you're going to use it. That's the one thing I can't stress enough. So when they activate charcoal, ladies and gentlemen, it actually removes the charcoal of any of the previously absorbed molecules, and it reacclimates, or how would I say it, it frees up those bonding portals again. I hope that makes sense. Some of this stuff may sound a little foreign, so I'm going to just try to get through this one somewhat quickly and succinct, and not, you know, make a long video with a bunch of stuff that may or may not make sense. But essentially, when they manufacture activated charcoal, you guys, it increases the overall, it increases the surface area massively. And because of activated charcoal's large surface area, it has a massive amount of area to absorb junk from our system, from our body. In fact, they actually use activated charcoal in emergency rooms for certain incidences where people may, and the timer's going off, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they'll use activated charcoal in emergency rooms on occasion when people have, you know, attempted to commit suicide by taking large amounts of pills. It has the ability to go inside of the system and bind to the toxic material in those drugs. For instance, if someone's taken a large amount of prescription drugs, it can go into the system and bond to and adsorb, again, not absorb, but adsorb. It binds to these constituents, renders them non-effective, non-poisonous, and then you can eliminate them out of the eliminative channels. So because of this, activated charcoal is one of those things that I keep on hand. I think it's a very important part of any alternative health practitioner's medicine cabinet. Right now in Virginia, we have about 1.5 pounds, probably 2 pounds of activated charcoal. And because you don't need to use a lot of it, it lasts a very long time. Now, I'm not recommending that people use this to try to treat themselves. If something were to happen and someone took some poisonous ingredients or some poisonous whatever it is, you need to call the Poison Control Center and deal with it in that fashion. Because there are certain, if an individual was going to use activated charcoal to try to absorb toxicity within the system, it has to be taken in the right amount of time. I believe shortly thereafter someone's taken something that's poisonous, and there's a particular ratio where you have to use a significantly larger amount of activated charcoal in comparison to the weight of whatever you consumed. I hope that makes sense. So You know, it's been said that, again, 1.5 about teaspoons of charcoal has the absorptive qualities or the surface area of about a tennis court. Some people will tell you has more surface area of a football field. You know, that may sound hard to believe, but this stuff really is magical. I believe in nature, deers intuitively, if they get sick or have stomach issues, they will go around campsites and look for burnt pieces of charcoal out of fireplaces in order to absorb the toxicity. Nature's brilliant. You know, people may be thinking, well, it's burnt, it can't be good for you. Well, that's true if you were to consume it out of like a fireplace and things like that, which I do not recommend ever. You have to get activated charcoal that's been created through the proper manufacturing process, which renders it safe. I'm not in any way, shape, or form telling people to go out and just start eating charcoal pieces. It's completely different than activated charcoal, although it seems to have some ability to absorb, even if it's not manufactured from a professional manufacturing plant or procedure, excuse me. So again, you guys, right now, because it's flu season, I'm taking a lot of elderberry. I'm taking a lot of things like oregano oil. I don't take it every day, but I still do consume it. I'm taking the elderberry and hibiscus potion, which I talk about on my Patreon page. It's something that I do every flu season. Elderberry helps me keep my immunity up. In fact, Hippocrates, the founder of medicine, said that elderberry was indeed the treasure chest, the treasure trove. Apparently I can't speak today. The treasure chest of healing. It has antiviral properties, antifungal. So there are certain things that I do to go out of my way to stay healthy during flu season, because personally I don't get the flu shot. I like to take care of my health naturally as I can. And if you're going to do that, I'm not recommending that people do that, but I take certain nutraceuticals, herbaceuticals, herbs, teas, things like charcoal, things like sodium bicarbonate. I'm bathing in clean water. I'm drinking clean water. I'm eating a vegan diet. Excuse me. These are the things that I'm doing to keep my immunity high in a world of sickness. So, you know, there's so many things that we can be doing at any given time to take care of our health, but I talk about that often on my channel. I want to get into some specific things that activated charcoal has been known to aid in. People have reported this all across the internet. I've had some massive benefits from using activated charcoal to remove bloating or intestinal gas. You guys, the stuff has the ability to pretty much get rid of intestinal gas. It doesn't seem to be understood how this works, but it does indeed work. At least that's been my own personal subjective experience. If I have bloating or intestinal gas and I take about a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of activated charcoal, within about 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on what I've eaten, it goes away. You do, if you're going to use activated charcoal like I do, you want to make sure to try to consume it on an empty stomach. Because if you don't consume it on an empty stomach, it will mix up with the food that you have in your system and it will render its absorptive qualities pretty much useless. And activated charcoal is not something that you want to wash, like say if you were going to take elderberry, some elderberry capsules or some turmeric capsules. You do not want to wash those capsules down with activated charcoal because it will adsorb to the turmeric or the elderberry and render it useless. It's something that really needs to be taken on its own. Another thing that activated charcoal seems to be great for is because of its GI absorptive qualities, it seems to massively help with diarrhea. Now, this is not something that I've experimented with, but I have scoured the Cure Zone websites, or the web forums, and just read multiple instances where people have had massive benefit from taking activated charcoal to treat diarrhea. Another great thing that people use activated charcoal, and I do this as well from time to time, although I usually brush my teeth with turmeric and coconut oil, is teeth whitening. Activated charcoal, if you have yellow teeth, if you have any staining on your teeth from smoking or drinking coffee or anything that stains your mouth, you can take activated charcoal. What you can do is I recommend using an electric toothbrush. Is you get yourself some, some nice organic toothpaste. You can also make it. And I talk about how to make toothpaste on my Patreon page. But you can get just like Tom's of Maine if it's fluoride free, that brand, or preferably like the Dr. Bronner's toothpaste. And you put the toothpaste on the end of your toothbrush, and then you just douse or dab your toothbrush with the toothpaste on it in some activated charcoal and kind of roll it around a bit and make sure the charcoal's on the toothpaste, and then you brush your teeth with that. And chances are, if you look at your mouth, if you look at your teeth before you brush your teeth with activated charcoal, and then you look at your teeth after you've brushed your teeth for about 2 minutes with activated charcoal, you'll be surprised at how much whiter they are. Although I do not believe that this is the most beneficial route or the quickest route to whiten your teeth. I think the quickest way to whiten your teeth is to use turmeric powder on the end of your toothbrush. And as contradictive as that sounds, people think that turmeric would stain. Now, normally turmeric does stain. If you get it on clothing or counters, it can just be a real hassle to get it out of clothing and like countertops and things like that. But for some reason, it works wonders on teeth whitening. But again, you guys, aside from some of that, it's got amazing antiviral properties, antifungal. It's got detoxifying properties. It's antibacterial. Activated charcoal is also great. It appears to be great for skincare. It draws out toxicity within our GI tract, and when you clear out waste from the GI tract, you can see that mirrored in the health of your skin. Oftentimes when people get into detoxifying and removing particulates and garbage from their digestive system, from their GI tract, their skin starts to clear up. And one of the greatest ways to absorb all the junk in your system is properly regimented use of activated charcoal, in my opinion. But again, you guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. We're already at, 17 minutes. Activated charcoal, something that has been used for a very, very long time by a handful of different people. There are so many benefits to this stuff if you look close enough, if you look at things with non-biased eyes. I know it may sound crazy to people that consuming charcoal can have benefits, but again, it's not the type of charcoal that you would find on your barbecue. That's usually laced with fire or lighting accelerants and a bunch of chemicals. No, activated charcoal is made under strict guidelines. It's made in a way that activates the charcoal and increases its surface area. And quality charcoal has a high pH. It's highly alkaline. It's spinning full of life force. It's spinning full of electrons. It's awesome stuff, you guys. I'm going to wrap this one up on behalf of your health. But again, for the next 6 weeks, you guys, I'm going to take about a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of activated charcoal every Sunday on an empty stomach. I have gone through periods, like I said earlier, where I've taken it every day. I felt the benefits heavily for about 4 days, but after about 5 days, my digestion started to get a little bit sluggish. And if you do use activated charcoal, you guys, don't be surprised if you see, if blackness in your stools. Not all of it, this isn't always the case, especially if you're taking smaller doses. If you take like a fourth of a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon, but if you use anything over a teaspoon, which I don't necessarily recommend, there's a good chance that you might see some of that in the toilet. But again, it's all about experimentation. Some people may have an amazing effect with this stuff, some people may not. But because of how absorptive it is, because of how it draws poisons out of the system, because it can draw both good things and bad things out of the GI tract, I personally only use it once a week. I think that's a very safe way to approach this. But as always, you guys, peace be with you. I hope you guys are doing great during the holiday season. It's been a while since I've been posting regularly here on YouTube. Really excited to get back to posting often. I've got some big plans for this channel, but use your time wisely. We'll wrap this one up with kind of a brief motivational discussion. At any given time, ladies and gentlemen, you have opportunities, divine opportunities to take forward momentum with your health. In a matter of an hour, you can get a journal and write down all sorts of plans. You can create an entire blueprint on your first steps towards getting radiantly healthy. Or maybe, from time to time, maybe you're currently incredibly health conscious, but from time to time, you tend to kind of drift away from it and you get distracted or bogged down by the stresses of life. That's completely normal. It's all about how you pick yourself up in these situations, but within a 1 hour period, give yourself 1 hour a week to set aside the stress and the obligations of whatever it is that you're doing and spend some time on yourself. I like to do that on Sunday because Sunday is associated with the day of the sun. Each day has a particular planetary ruler. For instance, the moon rules Monday, Saturn rules Saturday, the sun rules Sunday, and the sun in occult circles or in mysticism or spirituality is known to be about expansion and growth. So that's what I like to do. Whatever it is, usually, excuse me, take action now. Don't try to wait for a particular day to do something. Take action now. I've just over the years kind of created sacred spaces for myself on Sundays. It's just something that I got into the habit of doing, but it became part of my weekly routine, and it serves me very, very well. You've got to give yourself time away from whatever it is that's stressing you in life, whatever it is that's keeping you from being radiantly healthy. Set some time, at least once a week for an hour, get a pen and a piece of paper, and write down some goals, write down what you know you need to do in the present moment to get healthy. Oftentimes we know within our heart what we need to do to change our life for the better, but we ignore it or we just get distracted. So I hope you guys are doing something every day for your health. I hope you guys are constantly uplifting your spirits through things like meditation and yoga and exercise. All of these things in conjunction, in unison with a healthy diet and taking herbs and herbaceuticals can really uplift your health, can really allow your skin to become radiant, can really allow your spirit to be reawakened and rekindled with the fire of the Kundalini energy. We need to be evolving, not devolving. And one of the greatest ways, in my opinion, based on my own experiences, trial and error, research, but especially experience, one of the greatest ways, you guys, to evolve is by monitoring and questioning the habits and the things you've been clinging to, especially when it comes to what you're putting into your mouth, onto your skin, in your hair, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Now, oftentimes you can change the way you think and the way you feel directly by putting the right foods into your system. The body is a machine. It's an organic machine, ladies and gentlemen. It needs to be fed the proper constituents. Once you put the proper constituents back into the body, oftentimes the mind and the emotional field reflects the purity of your body, and you start to have much more uplifting thoughts and feelings. And that's essential, because the goal of health is not only to be healthy physically, but emotionally and mentally. So I hope you guys are having a great November. I hope you guys stay safe during the Thanksgiving festivities. Don't eat too much. Don't put yourself into a food coma. And until next time, peace be with you all.